Hey, warrior friends. I'm so excited for today's warrior conversation with Dillan Howell. We're going to be unpacking weekend ready, what that means, how he's equipping leaders, and how we can live weekend ready. So, as you are joining, I would love to see where you're joining us from if you're tuning in live. So, drop a hello in the chat. Hey, Karen, I see you joining us. Thank you so much. And as soon as Dillan joins, we will get this conversation started. It's going to be an incredible warrior conversation. Karen, how's your Tuesday going? Let me know in the chat. I'm so glad that you are here. Hey, I'm glad you're joining us. Drop a hello in the chat. Hey, Dillan, I see you hopping in. Yes, Ocala, Florida, represent. Those of you who are joining us, go ahead and drop a hello in the chat as we get this conversation with Dillan started. Hey, Dillan, how's it going?
What's up? How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining today's warrior conversation. And I'm literally so excited to dive in. So we'll just get this party started. I mean,
Let's do
if
it.
someone didn't know Dillan, who's Dillan? Like, introduce yourself for us.
Wow, thanks. Well, Emily, thanks of course for having me on your Instagram live. I love seeing everything God's doing in your life and at your church and with your ministry. And when we met. Gosh, how many years ago?
I
Quite a few
feel
years
like
ago.
it was like 8. I was thinking about that today. I think it was 8 years ago,
Yeah,
which is wild to me.
it was a while ago for sure. And well, anyways, who's me? Man, my name is Dylan. My wife's name is Paige. I got two great little kids, Beckham and Jet. And yeah, it's been a wild ride. I did ministry full time for 15, 16 years. Stepped out of vocational ministry 2 years ago and just started pursuing different routes, but also staying in the ministry realm of things. And yeah, so all these years later, I've just got my hands in all kinds of different things and trying to do all kinds of different things and having a good time while I do it and just doing it. Look, there's Justin. Hey,
I
Justin.
know. Hey, Justin.
It was full
So
circle
many,
here.
like,
I know.
literally. I know. I'm
That's
as
awesome.
as Dylan shared, like I had the privilege of getting to know Dylan, his family, and working professionally with you. I mean, eight
Yeah.
years ago, which is
Yeah.
so crazy.
Yeah.
And one of the things I always respected about your leadership was really how you equipped our team to lead and to serve and to live out the mission of the church that we are serving at, which is so much of what you're doing now in
Hmm.
equipping teams all across the country. And it's
Yeah.
called Weekend Ready. So
Yeah.
tell us about Weekend Ready, what it is, and how you're equipping leaders.
Yeah, I think it's important to start off in anytime Weekend Ready gets brought up, the idea of Weekend Ready would be that keeping the main thing is got to be the focus and priority for church creatives, church. When I say church creatives, of course, I'm speaking into worship, production, communications, anything that falls in that weekend experience. Those who make the 30 minutes happen on the weekend, that's who I'm specifically talking to. And what we saw in COVID was you heard COVID 19, this new global pandemic, this new pandemic, and God started just laying things in my heart. I joined a company called Amplio Systems out of Chicago, and I was on their team for a little over a year as their events marketing guy. And what I saw very quickly in that year was this just massive amount of unhealthiness in church production, church creative world. And it was an eye-opening thing for me. I was able to host these events all over the country, and I was able to just see these guys and girls come into these events and just pouring their hearts out. And what was cool about it is that it was opening up, yeah, this new window of opportunity for just opening conversations of like this health idea of like, hey, you're not right or you are right. And I was just like, this God just kept speaking to me, speaking to me, speaking to me. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Years ago, I bought a domain called WKNDready.com.
Okay.
And I just sat on it for years. And I would I just sat on it and I thought, what would it be like one day to have something that just kind of poured in and identified and developed leaders in the church. And as I was doing these events all over the country and working with these church leaders, I was very quickly and seeing, man, there's this new wave of unhealthiness. And so what I was seeing reason why I brought COVID was because COVID was this new global pandemic and this thing was happening. But what I saw as a new pandemic was church creatives leaving the church in a massive rate, just so quickly. And I was just like, man, if we don't hit this head on, will there be any more leaders in the creative ministry in church? And they were all bouncing, going to different areas. I was one of them. I faced burnout. I was not leading myself well. I am no victim. I was not leading myself well. I wasn't leading my wife well, my family well. I just wasn't in a place where I was healthy. And so I'm very grateful for Amplio because they took me in and they let me just kind of take a break from day-to-day ministry, but also continue doing ministry in a different way. They're just very grateful for my time there. But again, in that time, I started having conversations with Jeff about, hey, what would it be like to pursue a dream that I have, which is to develop a company called Weekend Ready that really works on the foundation of church leaders in the creative space. So a lot of people think Weekend Ready is going to come in and make us better service programmers or better producers or better production directors or better whatever, and which that would be nice, and that is something that we definitely want to do. But what we want to do as a priority is come in and focus on you as a leader and you and your health. And so that's kind of a spin for us. So somebody may say, hey, Dylan, we want Weekend Ready to come in and create a volunteer structure or something. And we say, that's great, but let's focus on you first. And so we start doing leadership assessments, and we start doing, working on goals, personal goals, spiritual goals, just trying to get you in a good place of ministry before we start coming in and implementing, new ideas, new tools, new resources. And so I don't know if I answered your
Yeah,
question because I started going all kinds of down
I love
rabbit
it.
holes, but yeah, we
No,
were getting there. So
I love it. And I mean, truly, that's what, and as you were sharing what Weekend Ready does with me on the phone several weeks back, I shared this story with you that one of the things that I respect about you so much, and it's engraved in my memory, in the green room one Sunday morning before, or it was a Saturday at that time, before services for the weekend were kicking off, you literally rallied the entire team together and you brought us back to the main thing. Like you
mhm.
read scripture, you prayed, and you led us so well that as every person went to their different role, whether it was on stage, behind a camera, mixing audio, taking photos, whatever it was, we were reminded of the main thing in a healthy way and why we were doing what we're doing.
Yeah,
And so you kind of touched on like why Weekend Ready is so important. And now that you're living out this domain that you purchased years ago, and it's
yeah.
now literally how you're investing your life, are you
Mhm.
able to see this health being poured back into teams as you're working with them?
Yeah, for sure. I know one of the ways that Weekend Ready helps church leaders is not necessarily just by coming in physically doing work with you or partnering with you in your church, but it's by creating events. And a couple of years ago, again through Amplio, I was able to start a golf tournament called the Worship Classic. And this golf tournament was just an idea that we had. And it was to bring in worship creatives and production guys. It's a free event, and we were able to bring it. Our first year was in Orlando, and it was 100 people. And a production director walked up to me, put his arm around me with tears in his eyes, and said, by you just creating this event for just a day, for us to come and network and not work and get away and just have fun, it's going to give me one more year in ministry. It's going to give me one more year in ministry. And that's just one of several stories we've heard from the events we've done in Phoenix to the events we've done in Florida. All these events we've hosted, we try our hardest to have free events. Every event I've ever hosted has been a free event. And so worship creatives and worship guys come in. I say, hey, I hear you. I see you. I love you. I know what you're going through. Trust me, I can honestly say I know what you're going through. If you're going through anything, and I'm here for you. Anything you need, here's my phone number. Here's a second. Here's a voice that can potentially speak into you as you speak into me. Like I just created this network of guys and girls, and so yeah, absolutely. I've been able to see and experience firsthand Weekend Ready. I mean, one of our guys right now at Weekend Ready, the church that we're working with, is walking through a big transition in life, and so our coaching has slowly evolved to me just helping him walk through life transitions. Like, what does your life look like? Sorry if you hear my dog barking. Paige, if you're watching this, which I think you are, please get our dog inside.
Hi, Paige.
Yeah. Um, and so, that's the thing about Weekend Ready. I just had an incredible opportunity this last week to spend a week from Sunday to Sunday at Free Chapel Church in Gainesville, Georgia. And just an incredible opportunity to be with Pastor Jensen and his team as they put on their Easter experience. And just the relationships out of that,
Mm.
just there to be a person of service, because yes, they hired me to come in and be a service, but a volunteer just called me who thought I lived in the Atlanta area, called me and invited me to the Braves game tonight because of the connection that we made. So this guy's not even in. It's just always right. Like I've always been told, in first impressions, you either have a good touch or a bad touch. And that's your choice. You can have a good touch by your personality, your character, how you love on people, how it's like I heard someone say this, and I'm probably going to butcher it because I wasn't prepared to say this, but it's like a chalkboard, right? And so if you bump up against it, what kind of mark are you going to leave? And it's that it would be my heart with Weekend Ready and all of our coaches is that any way that we can get in and love on somebody, we can bump them the right way and keep them going in whatever area of life they're in a positive light. That's a massive win for Weekend Ready. And of course, we want to come in and make you a better leader. We want to make you a better service programmer or producer or, Jared Olson. Hey, buddy, thanks for joining. Elevation Church. We want to make guys like Jared. Jared's made me a better leader. We want to come in and partner with guys like that and just love on people and help them continue ministry in any way we can.
That's absolutely incredible. Like
Yeah.
what you do is so important. And I know we have people who are joining us live or they're listening to this replay on the podcast later, and they might not be in vocational ministry.
Right.
So some of what we're even talking about, somebody might be scratching their head and saying, whoa, catch me up. The people who work at church just aren't on like a high all the time, like walking around singing,
Oh yeah, that's
praise
true.
music. And so demystify that for us for a second,
Yeah.
because the reality is we're human beings. It is our vocation. It's a privilege and such an honor to work at a church and to do this for a living. But we also are human. So talk to the person who maybe this isn't their job and they're like, wait, what? You get discouraged or burned out?
Yeah. Yeah, we get discouraged and burned out the same way anybody else does. We have challenges. We have, we're weak. We have in our own flesh, we have failures and we have decisions we have to make every day, just like everyone else. I would like to say in ministry that everything 40 hours a week is 100% fun all the time, and that would be a gigantic lie and untruthful in every way possible. But also on the other side of things, I don't like to approach it from a dramatic side and say, again, I said at the beginning, like I'm no victim, like this is, we hear calling, I got a bunch of police officer buddies and they would say very much so that they're called to their job.
Right.
And, I can go hang out with good friends with my chiropractor who would say he's called to what he does. Right. And so it goes back to what you're called to. And I think just as in ministry, there's challenges for those in ministry, there's challenges for everyone else. And I'm just going to remind anyone listening, if you're in ministry or not, you have the choice every day to leave a good impression or a bad impression of anyone that you walk upon. And if you're a Christian and you're listening to this, I feel like you may have a better and bigger opportunity to change someone's day by the way that you look at them, the way you smile at them, by the way you engage with them. They don't even have to know you're a Christian. You don't have to say, hey, my name is Dylan and I'm a Christian. But by the way you just give them that extra attention, put your arm around them and say, hey, I don't know your story, but I love you. I'm here for you. Anything you need, let me know. Can change the course of their path. And so, I could get into all kinds of ministry stories, Emily, of course, and to bring those up, but I don't think we should do that. Yeah, so I mean, that's my word for anybody in ministry or not ministry. It's who are you affecting daily? Who are you locking arms with, locking eyes with, and just doing life with, and helping them move forward in whatever area that they are in, for sure. So
Drop the mic. That's so wise. And just thank you for sharing for those who might not understand what vocational ministry could entail for somebody. And for that person too, Dylan, I've heard you share this theme and this heartbeat behind Weekend Ready to really be the healthiest leader that you can be. It starts with you and not playing the victim, but choosing to have the legacy and the life that you want to live and lead. So speak to us, whether you're in vocational ministry or not, how can we live in the posture of being weekend ready?
yeah, for sure. Man, I know for me, every morning if we wake up, that's already a win. And it's going to be, hey, I'm grateful that I woke up today. Boom, wrote it down. I turn over and I see my wife. I'm grateful for my wife. I wake up and I can hear my kids yelling down the hallway. They've been up for 4 hours before I've opened my eyes. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. When I started Weekend Ready, my word for that year, every year you have a word. My word for that year was grateful. And I just remember just being so grateful for everything that's coming at me. And also was coming at me in a year of anxiety. I've never had this type of anxiety in my entire life. I've never felt this sort of like I didn't know what anxiety was. And so when my body started feeling it, just all kinds of crazy stories, of those who struggle with anxiety. And I was just grateful. I mean, my journal somewhere. My office is under construction, so I'm kind of in a makeshift area right now. But my journal, I mean, I have pages and pages of things I'm grateful for. Some of them just seem silly, but that's the idea of being weekend ready. Like if you want to be a better person, most of us look at, so let's say Dylan as a leader, there's 7 levels to Dylan. And most of me or most of us want to focus on fixing level 4 and level 5 and level 6 because that's the tallest part of the building and that's what most people see. But the root of it and the issue of it is level 1 and the foundation. And so that's why it's important for coaches in Weekend Ready and for myself to always know, hey, you may think these are your issues. So outside of ministry, you may think these are your issues or these are the things that you're struggling with, but at the root of it or at the core of it or at the foundation of it, it's not. And that's what we need to focus on. And so I guess my advice to myself, because I'm preaching to myself always, is the idea of being grateful. A, there's so many things you can be grateful for. And B, just being in the posture of, hey, I think I got this from Pastor Judd. This is it. My hands are open. I want to be an open-handed leader. I don't want to be a closed-handed ever. And God, you've given me these gifts. You've given me these talents. At any time you can take them. At any time you can give and or receive. I'm ready. I'm never this because if you're this, you cannot receive anything. And so, without like diving into how you can be weekend ready specifically for WKNDready.com, but just the posture of a leader and healthy leader. Those are my few points of advice that I guess I would give of being grateful, open-minded, and always don't work on just the top things, what people see the most, but work on the roots, the foundations of who you are as a leader. I think that's what develops and that's what moves you forward quicker as a personally as a leader. So.
I could not agree more. That's so wise. Thank you for equipping us with those truths. And if somebody was listening and they wanted to connect with and maybe work with Weekend Ready, work with you and your coaches, where can people connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, on Instagram, you're more than welcome to hit us up on there. WKNDready.com. That's our company's Instagram. Shoot me an email. All my stuff is in my bio. And again, back to Instagram, it's all in there. You can take my phone number. I don't care. I got everybody has my phone number. So it's like, you can take my phone number, whatever. Just hit me up and shoot me a text. The biggest thing about Weekend Ready is getting people started in Weekend Ready is just taking a phone call. Yeah. Like if we can get people just to take a 30-minute just hangout call where it's just me saying, hey, where are you at? How you feeling? Who are you? Like, what is God doing in your life? What's happening in your ministry? And most of the time, first of all, it's never 30 minutes. It's typically well over an hour. But most of the time, it's just a opportunity for this individual to just talk. And I'm just listening. That's great. I hear you. Yep. That's cool. I'm just listening. And then I speak back into it and that's it. And that is such a fulfilling thing for me to be able to just be just a set of ears for someone to talk. And so that would be the quickest and best way to get a part of it would be go to time for that 30-minute session because although we are not counselors, we say it all the time, we are not counselors. Nothing we do is counseling. We're no doctors, but we can say we're mentors and we can say we're coaches and that's what it falls into. So yeah, I would say that's the best way for sure.
That's awesome. I love it. And if you're listening to this later, we will have those in the show notes. You can easily connect with Dylan. And I will give the teaser that Dylan is sharing his becoming story at BecomingMe.tv in a couple weeks. I'm so excited getting to know a little bit more of who you are and how you're becoming the Dylan that God made you to be.
That's right.
As we wrap up today's warrior conversation, is there anything else that you would want to equip leaders with before we say goodbye?
Yeah, something came to me. I don't know what it is. I feel like there's such a competitive spirit amongst church leaders right now, specifically or leaders in general. No, just take out church leaders. Let's just speak to the leader in general right now. I feel like there is such a competitive spirit right now amongst entrepreneurs, leaders, business leaders. I myself and my wife own a company that has nothing to do with churches. So I can say I'm in that world, and I'm also in the world of churches. And so, what I would just constantly encourage you is that there's two ways, and this is not original content, but there's two ways. This is a reminder for a lot of us. There's two ways to have the biggest building in town. You can destroy it, or you can build the biggest building in town. You can destroy the other buildings around you, or you can build the biggest building in town. And my encouragement to you is to have a positive attitude always. Link arms with people that you're doing business with. Don't focus on trash talking and tearing down those other buildings. If you truly want to have the biggest building in town, focus on building the biggest building in town and celebrate with those around me. I just this spirit of like, man, I wish, or I had, I did an article on a podcast, I don't know, a couple of years ago. It was called the if I statements. Doing away with if I had this, if I could do this, if I had, if I can be over there, if I can have this job, if I could drive that car, if I could sing this song, if I could have this title in church, if I could have this salary. And when you do that, church leader or not church leader, what you quickly do, and you can't get out of the mindset of if I, is that you live in a world where you think it's all about you. And I just want to encourage you and put my arm around you and say it's not all about you. And so that I'm speaking to myself again, I'm preaching to myself. So I don't know why I felt like I needed to leave that with whoever's listening, but that would be it. Like, just focus on building you, focus on being a better leader, focus on building your family, and allow God to use you to build the biggest building in town. Use your energy towards that and not towards being negative and taking the other buildings down around you. So
Wow. Wow, that is
yeah,
powerful. Like, those are warrior words, as we would say here at
yeah,
BecomingMe.tv.
great.
So thank you. Thank you for equipping us with that. Thank you for your time investing in us today. And I'm looking forward to sharing your becoming story too soon as well. So thank you.
Yeah, super excited for it. Heading to LA tomorrow to be with
Woo!
another organization, but looking forward to jumping on that podcast and getting it done.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I'm cheering you and the Weekend Ready team on. And Paige, we know you're watching. I'm cheering you on too.
yes.
And I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining us, Dillan.
Yeah. Well, all
Thank
right.
you
Thank you
all.
so much. Thanks for having me. Yeah.